Hello and welcome to today's homework help video. This is Mr. Greger, and today in English class we conducted a close reading of Abraham Lincoln's famous speech titled The Gettysburg Address. In this video I'll briefly review how and why we will do close readings this year in class and break down the Gettysburg Address into easy to understand language. Now, I know that many of you have done close readings in the past, but this is the first one we're going to do together. So it's really important to break it down into how we will be doing it this year and why it's such an important part of our class. Before we talk about Lincoln's speech, think about your absolute favorite movie. Now, after you were done seeing it for the first time, there might have been some of the most important parts or one or two quotes you could remember, but honestly, you were just trying to understand what it was about and trying to enjoy it. Then when you watched it again and again, that's when you started to remember the quotes and realize the most important parts. If you think about it, you probably watched your favorite movie 5 or 10 times, and each time you watch it, you can realize that new things you've never noticed before are jumping out at you. The same thing happens when you read a book or an article or a speech. The first time through, you're just trying to understand what it's about. It's only when you examine it closely and slowly, time and again, that you truly understand it. Because let's face it, complex texts, especially speeches, can be difficult to understand until you break it down. That's why it's so important that we do close readings together in English class this year. Now, when you're doing a close reading, after you read through it to understand the gist of it, then it's time to reread it slowly and more carefully and annotate or mark up the text. This doesn't just involve highlighting things on the page. When I say annotate this year, it means writing notes in the margins, writing questions down, putting stars next to important things, question marks if you don't understand something. Your whole paper should be marked up. And one of the most important things is that your paragraphs should be numbered as well, so that you can cite them later. If you're having a hard time understanding what's important and what's not, think of the two main questions. What is this mainly about? And what main points does the author make? When you find the answers to those questions, those are the things that you should be highlighting. Then, after you annotate the text, you go back for a third time and go sentence by sentence, putting everything into your own words. That ensures that you are understanding everything enough not just to summarize the main points, but to paraphrase everything the author is saying. And that's what tonight's homework assignment was. Now, when you look at your annotated copy of the Gettysburg Address, it should look something like this. You should notice that I have only the most important things highlighted, not whole sentences, not whole paragraphs, and I have lots of writing in the margin. For the purposes of this video, I've included only the written annotations for the first paragraph, but in the future, if I were to ask you to annotate the second and third paragraphs, it would look like what I have at the top of the page. I highlighted 407 years ago because he's discussing when something happened. From the bottom of the page, I know that a score is 20 years, and just for a little bit of math in English class, 4 scores would be 80, and 7 years would be 87 years ago. Okay. Well, I also know the speech was written in 1863. It's at the top of the page. So 1863 minus 87 years would be 1776. I know that year. That's the year the Declaration of Independence was signed. So that's when he's talking about, was 1776. Now, I can make an inference that when he's saying our fathers, that I have highlighted, he's not talking about your dad and my dad and his dad. He's talking about the founding fathers of the United States. So I wrote that down and annotated that part. All right, so the founding fathers, they brought forth this new nation that was conceived in liberty. We said in class that conceived means born or formed or created. Liberty is freedom. So I wrote down formed and freedom there. And lastly, dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. All right, well, you may not exactly know what a proposition is. It's a very big advanced vocabulary word, but that's all right. You can figure out based on the context of that sentence that he's talking about the belief or the idea that all men are created equal. So that's what I wrote down. Now, to put it into your own words, it's easy. You just take the annotations that you have and piece everything together. And you can just write it down on those lines right on that worksheet. Now, if you are feeling confident, you can stop this video right now and try it on your own, and good luck. I'll be checking this in class tomorrow. But if you are still struggling, you just keep watching the video. I'll show you an example of one that I wrote. But if you do turn in your worksheet tomorrow and you have the exact same thing written that I do, you will not receive full credit for this assignment. I expect you to still write it in your own words. But if you need some extra help and this video doesn't clarify it, you can always feel free to come and talk to me either before or after class or during a study hall. So this is the one that I wrote. It says 87 years ago in 1776, the founding fathers created a new nation that was formed in freedom and founded on the belief that all men are created equal. Okay, now you see that his paragraph and the speech was one long sentence. My paragraph rewritten in my own words is also one sentence. But one thing that I want you to understand is that I am touching on every single aspect of that first paragraph. I'm not just saying in 1776 the United States was formed, because there's much more to his first paragraph than just that main fact. I'm touching on every single important fact that we highlighted, that we discussed in class, that I paraphrased and put into my own words, that I annotated. You can see when it was formed, who formed it, why, and on what basis. All right? So hopefully seeing that example and hearing that explanation helped you a little bit more. Still, try this again, put it in your own words as much as you can. And if you need more help, just come down and see me. Thank you again for tuning in to today's homework help video. I hope it helped, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you.